Welcome to our channel. Today we're taking a trip down memory lane back to 1990. Have you ever wondered which Arab countries had the most powerful militaries back in 1990? You know, before drones and cyber warfare? Well, you're about to find out. Get ready to have your minds blown because we're about to rank the top 10 most powerful Arab countries militarily from 1990. We're talking manpower, tanks, planes, boats, the whole shebang. Kicking off our list at number 10 is Tunisia. Tunisia in 1990 wasn't exactly known for flexing its military muscle on the world stage. They were more focused on not being invaded by their neighbors. Tunisia's military doctrine was pragmatic. They knew they couldn't win an arms race, so they focused on strong border defenses and a well-trained, if modestly equipped, army. Their main strength lay in their ground forces, which were relatively large given the country's size. They had a decent amount of tanks and armored vehicles, enough to deter any smaller neighbors with ambitions of a land grab. Tunisia's military might not have been winning any beauty contests, but it did the job of keeping them safe and stable in a pretty volatile region. Coming in at number 9 is Yemen. 1990 was an interesting time for Yemen. Just the year before, North and South Yemen decided to put aside their differences and become one big happy family. Except, merging two militaries is about as easy as merging two families after a messy divorce. Yemen emerged with a relatively large ground force, mostly thanks to the sheer number of boots on the ground. They had a hodgepodge of Soviet-era tanks and armored vehicles, which is a bit like having a vintage car collection. Their air force was, to put it politely, a work in progress. They had a few fighter jets, but nothing to write home about. Yemen's military was still finding its feet as a unified force in 1990. Sliding into the number 8 spot is Morocco. Morocco has always been a country that knows how to make an entrance, and 1990 was no different. Morocco's military was nothing to sneeze at. They had a well-trained and well-equipped army, thanks in part to their close ties with the West, particularly the United States. Their ground forces were a formidable force with a healthy mix of modern tanks and armored vehicles. They were also no strangers to desert warfare, having honed their skills in the Western Sahara conflict. But Morocco's real pride and joy was their air force. They had a fleet of modern fighter jets, including the fearsome F-5 Tiger, which they acquired from the US. Imagine rocking up to a dogfight with those bad boys. Chapter 4, number 7. Jordan. Small but strategic. Jordan might be a small country, but they've always punched above their weight class when it comes to, well, pretty much everything. Jordan understood that in a region full of heavy hitters, they needed to be strategic. Their military was all about being agile, well-trained, and ready to deploy at a moment's notice. Their ground forces were the backbone of their military, known for their discipline and professionalism. They may not have had the most tanks or armored vehicles, but they knew how to use what they had effectively. Jordan also understood the importance of alliances. They were tight with the US, who provided them with training and equipment. Chapter 5, number 6, Libya, Gaddafi's gamble. At number 6 we have Libya, a country that was practically synonymous with its flamboyant leader, Muammar Gaddafi. Under Gaddafi's rule, Libya invested heavily in its military, often to the detriment of, well, everything else. He poured billions into acquiring weapons, building up a massive arsenal that would make even the most trigger-happy dictator blush. Libya's military might was centered around its air force. Gaddafi splurged on fighter jets, bombers, and even a few long-range missiles. But here's the thing about building a military on a foundation of oil money and questionable foreign policy decisions. It's not exactly a recipe for long-term stability. Chapter 6, number 5. Algeria. The Sandlions roar. Holding it down at number 5 is Algeria, a country with a long history of colorful leaders and even more colorful military escapades. From the days of the Berber warriors to the modern era, Algeria has always been a land of resilience and strength. Algeria's military was no joke. They had a massive ground force, battle-hardened from years of fighting in the Algerian War of Independence and various border skirmishes. Their soldiers were known for their tenacity and bravery, often fighting in harsh desert conditions. They had tanks, armored personnel carriers, artillery, you name it. Their ground forces were equipped with a wide array of modern and vintage military hardware, making them a formidable force in the region. But what really made Algeria stand out was their air force. Their pilots were highly trained, and their aircraft were maintained to the highest standards. They had a surprisingly modern and capable air force equipped with a mix of Soviet-era and Western fighter jets. This blend of technology gave them a unique edge in aerial combat and reconnaissance missions. And let's not forget about Algeria's strategic location. Situated in the heart of North Africa, Algeria serves as a crucial link between the Mediterranean and the vast Sahara Desert. They're right there in the middle of North Africa with a coastline that stretches along the Mediterranean Sea. This prime location not only offers economic advantages but also significant military strategic benefits. You better believe people are going to take notice. Algeria's military prowess, combined with its strategic position, makes it a key player in regional and international affairs. Their influence extends far beyond their borders, impacting global military strategies and alliances. Chapter 7, Number 4, Syria, a fragile powerhouse. Coming in at number 4 is Syria, a country that, well, let's just say things were a little complicated in 1990. The nation was navigating a complex web of regional politics and internal challenges. Syria had a powerful military, there's no doubt about that. The Syrian army was one of the largest in the Middle East, boasting a significant number of troops and advanced weaponry. Their ground forces were massive, armed to the teeth with Soviet equipment. Tanks, artillery, and a variety of other military hardware were at their disposal, making them a formidable force. But here's the catch. Syria's military might was a double-edged sword. While it provided a sense of security and regional influence, it also came with significant drawbacks. On the one hand, it made them a force to be reckoned with in the region. Their military prowess was respected and feared by neighboring countries. On the other hand, that massive military came with a hefty price tag. The cost of maintaining such a large and well-equipped force was enormous. Syria was pouring a huge chunk of its budget into maintaining its armed forces. This included not just the purchase of equipment but also the training and upkeep of personnel, which didn't leave a lot of money for things like, schools, hospitals, or that new library everyone was asking for. The heavy military expenditure meant that other critical sectors, such as education and healthcare, were often neglected, leading to a fragile socio-economic structure. Chapter 8. Number 3. Saudi Arabia, the oil-rich powerhouse. Sliding into the number 3 spot, it's Saudi Arabia. Now, we all know Saudi Arabia for its oil wealth, vast deserts, and, well, let's just say their human rights record isn't exactly winning any awards, but in 1990 they were also a force to be reckoned with militarily. Saudi Arabia went on a shopping spree, snapping up fighter jets, tanks, missiles, you name it, from the US and Europe. Their air force was particularly impressive, with a fleet of F-15 Eagles that would make even the most jaded aviation enthusiast drool. They were like the Beyoncé of the skies, sleek, powerful, and everyone wanted a piece of them. Chapter 9. Number 2, Iraq. The paper tiger. Coming in at number 2, we have Iraq. 1990 was a pivotal year for Iraq, to put it mildly. This was the year Saddam Hussein decided to invade Kuwait, which, spoiler alert, didn't go so well for him in the long run. Before the US-led coalition came knocking, Iraq was considered a regional powerhouse, at least on paper. They had a massive army, battle-hardened from years of war with Iran. We're talking over 1 million soldiers, tanks, artillery, chemical weapons, the whole shebang. But here's the thing about having a big, scary military, it doesn't mean you can actually win a war. As Iraq soon found out, quantity doesn't always equal quality. Chapter 10, Number 1, Egypt, the undisputed champion. And finally, at number 1, the reigning champion of military might in the Arab world in 1990, Egypt. Now, Egypt has always been a major player in the region, with a history that stretches back thousands of years. From the time of the pharaohs to the modern era, Egypt has been a land of immense cultural and strategic significance. But in 1990, they were also a military powerhouse, a force to be reckoned with. Their military strength was not just a product of their historical legacy but also of their modern strategic planning and execution. Egypt was like that friend who's always been the biggest, strongest person in the room. Their presence alone was enough to command attention and respect from allies and adversaries alike. They don't even have to try, they just naturally command respect. This respect was not just due to their size but also their discipline, training, and the pride they took in their military heritage. They had a massive army, well-trained and equipped with a mix of Soviet and Western hardware. This blend of equipment gave them a unique edge, allowing them to adapt to various combat scenarios effectively. We're talking tanks, artillery, fighter jets, you name it. Egypt had it in spades. Their arsenal was vast and varied, ensuring they were prepared for any threat that might come their way. But here's the thing about Egypt. Their military might wasn't just about brute force. They were strategic thinkers, always planning their next move with precision and foresight. They were also a technologically advanced military, with a sophisticated air defense system and a growing navy. Their air defense was among the best in the region, capable of detecting and neutralizing threats from the sky. It was clear that Egypt wasn't just content with being the biggest kid on the block, they wanted to be the smartest too. Their intelligence and strategic planning were top-notch, ensuring they stayed ahead of potential threats and maintained their dominant position in the region. Their military drills were rigorous, designed to keep their forces in peak condition. These exercises were not just about maintaining physical fitness but also about honing their tactical skills and ensuring they could respond swiftly and effectively to any situation. Egypt also understood the importance of alliances. They maintained strong ties with various international forces, ensuring they had support and could collaborate effectively in times of need. This network of alliances further solidified their position as a military leader in the Arab world. Their respect for their military history and heritage was evident in everything they did. They honored their past while continuously striving to innovate and improve, ensuring they remained a formidable force on the global stage. And there you have it, folks, the top 10 most powerful Arab militaries of 1990. We've seen it all, from oil-rich kingdoms with shopping addictions to battle-hardened veterans with something to prove. Now we know you've got opinions, so let us know in the comments which country's military power surprised you the most. But before you go, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating insights into history, military power, and everything in between.